Here it says to me rotate device. Can you see me correctly in here?
Yeah, perfectly.
All right.
How about you?
Yeah, but I got the message of a rotating device. Let's see if I rotate my device here, but it looks fine for me. Let me just check here. Let's try putting on. Oh yeah, can you put it on vertical?
I put it vertical. Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, this
Oh
way.
yeah. Yeah. Now I stopped the message.
Let me see here.
Yeah.
Seems okay.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. And now we already got our first person here watching the live. And okay, so we're gonna start our TRECENA analysis here today. If you don't catch it up in time, you always know you can watch it later. This recording is going to be staying on YouTube. And if you're new to the channel or just arriving to our live here or watching this after, and you're enjoying the content you're seeing, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and give your thumbs up because it always helps, giving some relevance for YouTube. Today is going to be a very special Tristan analysis because I got my friend and my classmate, my counter neighbor here, Federico. He's a long time student. So, and before we start the analysis, Federico, can you introduce yourself for the people here? And also Jose is over there
Okay.
watching us.
Well, thank you, Eduardo. My name is Federico Ardissone. I'm live in Argentina. I've been an old-time astrologer. Everything that has to do with the stars comes sooner or later close to me. And even if I'm a Western astrologer, so to say, I've been very interested in the Mayan calendar since, well, a long time also, and always fascinated by this quality of time. I think that the spirit of time is what links us, blends us together. How to understand, how are we flowing somewhere? This is the idea of the linear time. It has been is this kind of dull. Let's put it that way, and to perceive and to see how things change day by day has is always something that always fascinates me, and that's why we're working today with try to understand the next scena that we're entering to try to see a little bit of what happened in the previous one and so on.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And for you to know, like Federico follows the Maya calendar way longer than me. Like I'm still a baby crawling, and he's already like a wizard. In here, he's also an apprentice of Tata Pabianteo, who you guys know here. They are here. And today we're gonna be analyzing this next scena of Osh Lahu Kat. But before we start talking about this Trecena, we're going to be recapitulating a little bit what was the Oshlahubat's Trecena. Can you start with your insights about the Oshlahubat's Trecena, Federico? How was it for you? Like how do you see this Trecena?
Yeah, for
What
sure.
insights?
I mean, I think these three Tresenas kind of link together. We have Oslahuch Tihash, then we have Oslahuch Pats, and now we have Oslahuch Cat.
Cut. Mm-hmm.
That is like we cut it, we put we spread the new links, and then we tie them. And this is
Mm-hmm.
how we can understand this whole process of, I don't know, 40 days. But
Mm-hmm.
we've seen a quick Trecena. So it's kind of a speed. You feel always this 13 bats Trecena has a lot to do with entanglement, new things coming, people connecting people from different. Oh, I didn't know that I was going to meet that guy is calling me. So that's something that we've seen. This Trecena is one of the Trecena. In my case, it's even the Trecena of my mom, so it's pretty strong. But one of the things that I remember always this Trecena because uh, Oshibi Mosh in particular. And something that a couple of years ago, we were doing some works at home, pipelines and stuff at the kitchen, and I was not wise enough to say don't start on Oshibi Mosh. I paid for that dearly, Those I remember that the guys were like, "Doo, doo, doo, doo," and they broke, and instantly they broke the pipeline, and it was a big trouble. And then I remember that why are we interested in knowing the quality of time? In many aspects, all the cultures before us and so on had this very, very tight way of understanding. So if you don't go on Sunday because on Sunday you will walk, and don't wake up at this late because it will happen. There were a lot of taboos in ancient times about how to understand the quality of the days. Then we moved to another paradigm that would say no matter, every day is just the same. Every day is like Sunday. But the thing is, I'm cut of blue during this Oslo, but the thing is that it's never like that. There are some days that you should always check out because there might be some trouble, some issues, and particularly on Oslahuf Bat, Oshibi Mosh is a very kind of a mm, troublesome day if you want to start things because there are lots of mistakes that can be done and that can happen. This is just what I wanted
It's true.
to point out about that day in particularly. Of course, that the main idea of the Decena has to do with build the bridges in order to get the finest intervention that has to do with Vukuk Kan, 7 Kan. That is something that is a very, very important thing. We have to always look at the Trecena because it's always an accumulation process.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not ready to tango, if you're not ready to make acquaintance of people, there's something that you won't profit this Trecena. You see, and this links a lot. I was kind of thinking a lot of about this Trecena. Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Mike Tyson.
Yeah, me
Uh,
too.
Mike Tyson is Wakib Cat. Okay,
Mm.
so this has to do with the idea of the heart of the Trecena. We have to ponder the right task. There are many
Mm-hmm.
things about Tyson say, well, it was a fearful, an amazing boxer. Okay, right now he's racing pigeons. That shows, and some cannabis things
Yeah,
that
brands.
really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
But that shows a lot what Mike Tyson really was. He was really a peaceful person who wanted to, give his energy for the other. That has to do with a lot with the cat energy.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, during his life, he at the beginning was kind of a tough life, and he had to experience Eid Kameh. Eid Kameh is a very, very tough day also from this Trecena to experiment the despise of other people and so on. That's what I wanted to point out here is that you can decide to choose a certain path. Sometimes you can be led astray, and he ended like being a true killer. But now
Mm-hmm.
that life is kind of mild, he goes back to the core of his Nawal. The core of his Nawal has to do with taking care in the right way of others. This Wakib cat. This
Mm-hmm.
Wakib cat is something that we're going to see in this Trecena that we are starting is how we are going to tie the knots that we've been opening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well said. As you mentioned, like the Oshlahu bats can be a very auspicious Trecena because when we talk about bats, we talk about, you know, putting things into action, you know, like not thinking too much, just enjoying the process. And as you important very much because now we're gonna be entering the tasks Trecena. So this bus Trecena was great for us to create this great tapestry, you know, of the things that we do. It could be our projects, to be an artistic piece of work, and I see this like there is lots of energy flowing in bus Trecena, like as you mentioned, or Shibi Mosh through water. Like as you open the tap of water, but sometimes, you know, could be, you know, like the water just flows a lot of water and you cannot control, and you water yourself like with the water. So it's just like when you get entangled with too much ideas to trying to connect. So just like when you add too much weight for for your intentions that you want to create a piece of work, okay, but sometimes too many ideas, they don't all fit together in the same place. And sometimes, you know, if you don't remove them, Kubkan would be the one that would make you like being suffocated, for being frustrated for not completing your piece of work, your work of artistry. Yeah, that's like, as I always tells you, so now it depends on how the pastor cinema went, because this one is going to continue. Like the nows, you always pass the baton
Mhm.
to, is always a condition that leads them to behave, you know, to lead them to experience what they experience in the day by day. And now this Trecena, as Federico mentioned, is a Trecena to ties things together. I always like to think that if we created something in Oshlahu Bats Trecena, now this one is where we can also put the things into tests. You know, because sometimes, you know, we can admire the stuff that we created. You know, our friends can enjoy that too. But you only know if the project will be sustainable whenever we put it into tests. You know, just give him just to walk the road ahead to see if you can if it can sustain itself. So, because cut is gonna be the now that talks about, you know, the energy that you burn, you know, to give life to the other. So you need to be able to sustain, just like we need to pay our monthly bills. Like, so we need to work the minimal enough, or at least to have the minimal resources to be able, you know, to keep up with that. So Kat is going to be talking about like the way we're going to be sacrificing ourselves to give life for this past creation we did in the Bats Trecena. Because that's that will tell us if that's ready and already ready, you know, to create life on its own, or if we need to gestate a little bit more. We also need to be careful, you know, how we're gonna dedicate ourselves, or how we're gonna treat that creation of ours. Because if we don't pay attention, we can end up getting burned. We can end up, you know, just not like, it's going to be too much pressure for us to carry, because maybe it's a project on the top of many others that you have. So you won't be have the energy to give to this project. So it probably is going to be dying over there. And so it's about, you know, just this just is about to give a meaning to what you create, to see if you can sustain that before it can walk on its own. And it can be like an exhausting Trecena, because the good part is to create, but whenever you need to put it to test to see if the things now can really hold together at the end, is the hard thing.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
and now we're gonna be starting the Trecena with Hum E, like the new path. I'm gonna start talking, then you complement, and you
Okay, that's
start
good.
Cape Ah. So Hum E is going to be talking about the new direction, the new path. One is the spring. E is the now of the path, spiritual path, the road. It's about when we give a purpose to something, or when we find a sense into something. So it's going to be the new sense. So after everything that happened in the past Trecena, everything that we ended up experiencing from that Trecena, now Hum A is going to continue. And you now have an opportunity, whether if you are frustrated, you can start something anew. You can give a new purpose to your life. But if you ended up having like a big creation, you want to put it to test to see how you can hold it, or how now things can ended up developing. Hunle is a brand new path to start. So it's about to give a new meaning, a new purpose that you're going to be trying. So it's going to be the new tasks of this different road that you asked. It doesn't matter what you choose. There is always going to be tasks on the road. There is always going to be movements that is going to be required to advance. So Hung E is going to be this now of the new road to this new path or new meaning. Do you have something to say about Hung E?
Yeah. First of all, one of the important things that is that to keep record of what happens in our life, because sometimes there are days that slip and slipping through our hands. We don't really know, understand what happened. And it's a very subtle energy, the energy of Hun E. Because it's true, what you said is E, but the nature of Nawal Hun is very innocent, very pure. Sometimes the new beginnings are not, it's not like the Big Bang. The new beginnings is like the little sprout, of the little, it has to do with the morning dew. It has to do with that subtle energy. It's just like the people, Hun people that tend to be, kind of sweet in their purposes. They go kind of in an innocent manner, seeing this from like a nine perspective. They go through life, so it's a good thing to keep in mind how things are starting and what thing it's presenting. Kun A, it's important that generally we're going to feel somehow hastiado. We say the word like my life. Where do we go now? As Axel Rose said, where do we go now? So this is the way we start in an A manner. Where do we go now? We have done this, and then we start to see, and then we start to see, and we won't remember how did we start because it was fresh. Then of course we enter into the two that is very strange. It's a very strange. I have my father-in-law to act, so I.
Be careful to what you say.
Yeah. I have to be careful. I have to be careful, but it's those kind of things of people who have been looking their whole life, because I like to mix it with people, like we just done with Mike Tyson, because at the end of it all, you end up looking just like your day.
Exactly.
Your life is your birthday. Your now has to do with the flavor of your life. But I have a little surprise to analyze, but I'm going to keep it with me a little bit more. But what we see here is a retraction. Always use 2 days, days number 2, to check out of the things. Don't send the emails on day 2. If you want to delay a project, use day 2. Because it's Tuak is a very good day to check out things again. How was that? Let's go through see that analysis again. This is not very clear. This is a situation that is still evolving. Maybe we should postpone the meeting and all those wonderful energies for not doing stuff that use that Tuak in that sense, and for sure try to see with this perspective of the two that will give you a certain view and then a movement, and to see what's going on there.
Great. I agree with everything that you said, because 2 hours is a perfect day to be lazy, for wanting to be lazy. Want to lay back and relax, because you don't want to do the changes because you already have probably have done a lot of work in the past Trecena, because now you just wanna chill a little bit. You don't want to think about the important stuff like the responsibilities, which is a heavy thing. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and 2R could be, like the calculation we're making, maybe those changes that were necessary, like we didn't have time the past Trecena. If you need to fix something before continue, before going forward in this Trecena, 2R can be perfect for that.
Absolutely. They're very
Yeah.
useful data to.
Yeah, just try to avoid it, because if Hunwei starts with the melancholy, you're probably gonna be, retract, or maybe, wanting to retract yourself from the world to be bitter. Maybe you can become cynical. Maybe you can get like a cynical view of the world, because. But remember that no has its importance. Is kind of, it's not like the easiest now to feel, because it talks about these gray areas of life, because you have to do something. You can do it, but oh man, but it's still necessary. You have to do it for many many times. Is what keeps you moving from A to B. It's the middle line where you have to figure out. So it's about to calculate what you need to do in these great tasks of this Trecena. The better you do the calculation of the change that may be necessary, how you can prevent that, like, or administrate your time, knowing to for you to have more lazy days ahead. So for you to not end up, just completely consumed for not using your energy in the right way for the right tasks. So 2 can be the best day for doing this calculation, for not compromising yourself. And then we're gonna move to the first part where we go forward in this Trecena. If one is not a good day to really start things, because it's the fresh one, just to acknowledge something from the is the one that we retract. Now we go forward. Now we already got enough time for us to stop being lazy, and we can open the path for the fertility, opening the path for collecting the resources. For example, I like to think Oshib Ish Valam, tree jaguar, as the important part here. If we need to sustain something, we need to have this flow of resources, coming for us. We need to do our savings. Because if we're talking about a project that we created in the past Trecena, this Trecena, you need to sustain the project. So you need to have, like the project, alive, the business working. So you need to have the flow of the money that comes in, for sustaining that. That's going to keep you, with enough resources for you to continue hiring people, doing whatever is necessary. So Oshib Ishvalam, I see as the day that you need to keep this current, of resources flowing, to keep your fertility flowing.
Yeah, for sure.
Or
Has a lot to do with involvement in our
mhm,
Ishbalam, going really to the main ground of reality and try to extract what are you going to get. I mean, the jaguar is out there for the hunt.
mhm,
A very interesting combination of Ishbalam because it has these open paths of the one number three, but at the same time the careful step of the jaguar, going.
mhm,
This is I could understand really that Ishbalam people are there for the real deal. They don't like to waste time and waste energy in things that they don't work,
mhm,
and they don't want to get results. So this is the part of the results and how it's what you were saying. How do you get the sources, the money? How are we going to grab them and get a little bit? Sometimes the Nawas will help us, get a little bit greedy. These are the Nawas to get. How can I get a little bit more? Because
mhm.
they are inviting us, because otherwise they are going to get something from us. That's what
Exactly.
happens in days when you say, hey, I just want to, I want to survive a can day without doing anything. You won't. somebody is
Yeah.
going to call directly on the door and say, hey, we need you. It's something that you it won't happen. And in this way, Ishbalam has a lot to someone will say, hey, Fred, that money that would you give me a little bit of that? Hey, I need you for this. Prepare for that. Prepare for
Mhm.
being part of the game and see what the other can give to you. You know, this is a quid pro quo energy of the Jaguar.
Yeah, true. And as you mentioned that, because this also can be called the TRECENA of the debts, also, now cut. So as Federico pointed out perfectly, each fellow the now is always going to get something from us. Maybe we can fall into the illusion that we just, pass the day, like hiding for them, but that never happens. And Ishvalam always gonna put you against the wall and collect what he wants. So it's a very strong novel to be need to be aware. Do you understand the Kahib King?
It's difficult, very difficult for me always to understand the Kahitzikin. Because you see the eagle, those nawals mixed with Sikin and the Kahib, it's like there are many important people in Kahib Sikin. You have Kennedy, you have Maradona, you have
Mm-hmm.
Nestor Kirchner, one of the latest presidents here in Argentina, was Kahib Sikin. It has to do with the sense of money also, but how are you going to spend it? And the energy of the Kahib is somehow to how what you really want to do? How you are you going to spend it steadily? That's the way I would give you some sort of arrange a regular payment.
Mm-hmm.
Decide what you're going to do in a regular manner. The type of picking the decision. The eagle is always watching from above. That's a
Mm-hmm.
good thing to keep in mind, to bear in mind. She's looking from above, and she's going to pick what she needs without entanglement. She's not going to touch you. She's just pick. Like the
Mm-hmm.
way Maradona used to send when he sent the ball, hey, hey, then the ball was there.
Yeah.
Just the same way. He was like, hey, we're cool here. Then, well, you remember very well because that's what the main goal and that
True.
Italia
Yeah.
90 was a perfect example of a Cajib And obviously, the curious thing is that Canilla was called El Pájaro, the bird.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the Cajib here said, hey, tranquilo, tranquilo, then bing. I think
Yeah,
I'm mixing
definitely.
goals. I'm mixing because that's another one, but still, it has to do with that.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that was a perfect example of Kahib King. Because I see Kahib King, as you mentioned, as the king is about spending the money, like it's the eagle flying over there, is also the midday sun and the rains, like the tropical, like the hard rains that come from the sky. And I see like now far as the containment of the expenses that we have. So if free each Valam, we need to open the path for the resources to come in, as the Jaguar, makes the stocks for selling you, for a bigger price later. You know, like Kahib Tekin needs to be like, how do you control like your resources? How you gonna, keep your like spend your money? For example, like if you don't have the control of how much it enters for you, like how much it's for your projects for you to continue reinvesting. If you decide that you're gonna just use for you, so probably your project is not gonna be very sustainable because you already started out of balance with your expenses. Because the king, it's is I remember during the class you mentioned the king can be a very dangerous day for shopping, right? For you to go for the shopping mall. I always remember that from the class, and that's true. And I see myself, like every time, like when I spend, I just throw money away sometimes on the king. Sometimes I forget it's the king, and then I'm gonna look, oh my god, I just spent some money, it was very stupidly. and I'm gonna see sticking over there. Like, oh my gosh, it just goes straight to. So it's a way to, to be aware of how you're gonna spend this money. I need to have a credit card. Yeah, yeah, it's a good day to hide your credit card, Gloria. And then we're gonna move to Hob Ahmak. As I say, hop days where things can go sideways in the Trecena, because we have the uncontainment, like the unstoppable now 5. And now we're gonna get like the Ahmak, the complementarity, the cycle of the ancestors. There are many things that we can add into the conceptualization of Ahmak. But I think what can add the most in this Trecena could be, if we are talking about the sacrifices that we're gonna do for the other or to sustain the task, gonna be like the deals. So if we have this flow of money going on, we are control with our expenses, we already set the path to something. Probably you are able, to get the complementary people to work with you because you're probably gonna have resources to pay them. So you're gonna be having controlled your research so people can, embrace your ideas and be there with you to multiply that, to make, for you to get better deals. So I see this Robert Malcolm as can be an auspicious day if you aim for business, especially,
100%.
but also can be a very dangerous day because because you can get you because sometimes, like as we created something, we got involved something that is ours, we can get emotional to that, and sometimes these emotions, can cause us, to lead into blindness, especially if we are not like following like the flow correctly, depending on what the novels are taking from us at this point. But Ahmad can be representing like the overflow of mistakes that you do for only being emotional in there. If you do not start like with a good calculation of the path or the things that we're gonna do, we don't have like this correct flow of the how we're gonna keep the energy moving or how we're gonna keep our expenses, or at least like our focus or main focus on the paths that we create in life, not just talking about projects or business in here, but here can be where we can add, so much weight with mistakes to our back at the end of the Trecena. Is where we can fill our bags like with heaviness, where we can burn ourselves because sometimes we get emotional and we want to help the people that we want to help someone that is important, our family, for example. The Ahmakan talks about that. So of course it's noble that we want to help them, but if we don't know how to manage the energy that we have, like to help the others as well, we can end up just being burned because of that. So it's a very delicate day, that can be great for some things, can be something that makes you have to say no sometimes, otherwise you're just going to be extenuated for an energy that you're not able to offer. But sometimes you're really put in front of that you cannot avoid. Sometimes as an important person of your family, you need to do an extra effort to help them. So what are your thoughts about Habahmak?
Well, two things about Nawal Hob. I'm right now. I'm a good friend of Nawal Hob. I started. I always say this. I started to practice squash on hob bats because
Mhm.
I was never starting anything as a let's play with the energy of Nawal Hob. I'm tired of being the same guy. I want to get into something, and it's kind of a fever. It's like, hey, I have to play squash. I'm going. So I really use the energy of Nawal Hob, because this flow and this continuous stream. This is something that we see generally with Hob people that frankly they are unbearable. At least for me.
Mhm.
But
True.
however, it's sorry for the Hob people. Just just pay us a call from time to time, and we'll be okay. But in fact, I admire their eagerness for life. This thing of a little bit more, give me more, give me more. And here we have hope with Nawal Ahmak. that is it's true that that's the day for building bridges and for making new contacts and starting to build this net, because if there's always a link between the 5 and the 13, and if you're doing all this job for others, these are the others that you're going to pick up here at Hovachman.
Exactly.
So what you were saying about, hey, check out who are you going, because there's this energy of the Nawal Ahmak that has to do with the folds of being emotionally entangled. So if a big business is emotional entanglement, then you have a problem. Maybe it's the day for Tinder. I don't know. It's the Tinder day. Let's say pa, 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 pa. Then, those maybe those are the ways to use a very social day. You have the energy of being in contact with people, of doing things for others, and usually days number 5, they say don't start a quarrel of number 5. Day number 5 is true, don't do it. Don't
True.
start things that you can regret later on day number 5. Use them with care. It's something that you have to do it in a, okay, I'm going to use this energy, and as I told you, this effect on learning squash using a hobby bad day has been something that even Stroke said, hey, but I cannot stop. And that's the energy.
Yeah, I think you put it perfectly now about Noah 5. Let me just correct here. Hey, Marcus Rodriguez, welcome here to the live. Here we are talking about the Chorkir, like as you mentioned, the king number, 226. That means nothing to us in here. You're just confusing the calendar. Here, like you try to look for the Quiche variation of the calendar is the one that we are talking here. So just to make sure, because there are two different things what you're looking at. If you want to know what is your now, you can enter into my website, mayadekeeper.me/calculator. There you can have, you see your now according to the calendar we are analyzing here. But continuing here, do you want to start something talking about the Wakib Naor?
Beautiful day. It's a beautiful day if you tend to be an intellectual, So it's a good day to check out data, balance, ponder situations. There have been lots of things, days with contradictory energy. You go from Oshib Zikirin, Oshib Ishbalam, you go to Fort Zikin, then you go back. In Wakib Nok, we can understand a little bit of what's going on. It has a little bit to do with those are the days to really understand what happened, to do some intellectual work, do some research, do some those are the and because generally the energy of Noch is very, very obsessive, because it has to do with the way we link with our minds, okay, and this continual dialogue, and Nawal Wakib playing with Noch will give us some sort of a good help, because the way that we treat it's very tough to get some sort of equanimity in our lives, and that's why this is why we can really know where we are going at the end of the road. Always ponder the number 6. The ponder will tell you, this number 6 will give you, it's like the heart of TRECENA. This is really what you're going to, not what you're going to get, but what you're going to understand of the whole process.
Yes, very well said. Because now is where we're gonna be talking about like the dramas that lies in this TRECENA, as is the TRECENA of the weight of of the sacrifice that we do for the others or to sustain something, I think nothing could weigh more than the thoughts that we have. Because especially if we started this Trecena just having to give a new sense into something, a new purpose into something to start advancing. Sometimes when we start overthinking or we have doubts about some stuff, that can weigh into our head. So we can start overthinking. That's why we don't progress many times in life, because we are just stuck with the doubts that we have. And here where you can see like the what can lead to the accumulation of this Trecena, like this heaviness that the cat can bring. Like when you overthink a lot, can be like something that can be inflammating, as it goes on. Especially if in Hob we started being attached, emotionally about all the efforts we offer for other people. Now is the day, to ponder, like, what is your plan? Like, is everything that you created in the past Trecena, align with the plan that you had? Like, is where your heart wants to go? Is how your heart, had it organized? Because if we don't ponder about these things, where you're going, where we would like to go, we don't ponder the way how we are mapping this stuff, we can ended up, just ended up getting consumed for overthinking too much by the end of the Trecena. And that's how, you can start just feeling exhausted, extenuated about your things. That's then later you don't know why you're failed with your projects, because sometimes we get too emotional about some stuff. We become obsessive about an information or something that we read, but we didn't put into the proof to see if that's really true. So sometimes all the doubts that we ended up having can add to the weight of this Trecena that can burn you after all. And this is going to be also leading what is going to be accumulating in the next Trecena of Oshidahu Naor. But it's a day, where you need to put your feet on the floor. Like, if you're getting too emotional, attached, Naor can be, your balance control, to remember what is important, what are the stuff that you got to follow, like the rules. Because you always have to have this stuff organized, so we don't end up messing up our projects.
Okay.
And then we're going to move to Ukub Tihash 7 cut. This is going to be like the first part of this Trecena. And if we started the Trecena as a new path, to walk, and we need to remove, try to walk this path lightly. We need to, avoid, accumulating too much weight in our bag, in our projects, in how we dedicate our energy for other people. Of course, if you have energy, left, of course, but you need to know how to measure that. So I see Ukub Tihash as the most intense cut. Is the one that you can cut the losing threads from the past Trecena. Like, if in your creation you can just, sharp the edges. You can cut the weight that you're carrying, at least just to find a way just to get rid of, the trap that this Trecena can get you into. So I see the Ukub Tihash being the one that can set you free, for the traps. Because otherwise, the weight of the bag can end up being like these wounds that Tihash can provoke. Mm-hmm. And Tihash is a double-edged sword. If you don't cut to heal, you'll be cutting yourself to hurt yourself. So that's what I see from this Ukub Tihash.
I'm a big fan of the Depeche Mode. And there's one of the old keyboard player of the Depeche Mode called Alan Wilder was really Ukub Tihash, in fact. And I always think about how, this guy left the band in 1995, in fact, because he was overloaded with tasks by the rest of the team, and he didn't have enough credit from their partners. He was truly the classical musician there. He knew how to edit. Edit is a nice word for Tihash. This is where you're going to edit. We're going to, and as I told you, the sometimes the life is signified on symbolized on one act. He left the band. He never came back again. And every fan of the Depeche Mode is saying, "Hey, remember when Alan was in the band? Those were records, and now they lost the magic, or they lost this spark that this keyboardist used to add to the band." Um, what I want to point out here is that truly is a very important situation, the Ukuptihash. I remember another old friend of mine. We were when we were kids. He said, "I want to be a vet and living in the fields with the cows and go up and live the Buenos Aires and so on." And he made that. And he truly cut his life in two. So those the Ubuntu hash is the door that you're not going to open back again, and it's very clear, and it's obviously it's an energy that you have to be very careful on that day if you don't want to regret it, because if you want to keep situations and you because what happens on Tihash days, you feel there's a certain aloofness in everyone. Everyone's like looking, hi, hello. You don't know. You're like dancing in the labyrinth of mirrors. This is a very the Tihash energy can be very tricky, and you can feel an extra detachment, and also to cut things without feeling. That's why when you cut it, you open the road for 8 Kawuk. That's what we're going to see afterwards. But the thing is that here you have a very powerful energy, a very powerful sword in order to divide your life or the process that you've been into.
Exactly, and also just adding something because Tihashi is gonna reflect, like your the result of your actions, like your tasks, like the efforts that you put in life. That's gonna show who you really are. Like not about the things that the ideas that you hold in your head, like as Naoh was talking about. You actually know Tihash is gonna reflect like the result of the efforts you make in life. Like is how you put yourself into work. So this can be like very tricky. You can end up being surprised about with what you see in Hukuk Tihash. You can be hurt with the truth, that this mirror can show you. And now the Trecena restarts. We go to the second part in here. It's, as I always say, it's like the now 8 is like the second beginning, as you are just arriving to do something for the second time. So you're gonna have more peace of mind. That's why we see the Maya starting things in the now 8 and not in the number 1, especially our Quiche tradition here, where Federico and I are from. Because 8, we're gonna be talking about what is more prepared, just like when the rainy season returns. And Kawuk is returning from because the past season he was the now number 1. So it was just something was like a new unquiet sensation or an unquiet voice. You didn't know like it was intuition talking to you. You had to connect the dots to make sure. But now that you're walking this path, you're already putting things into tasks. Like you just already chose what road we like to walk in this Trecena, and the sacrifices that we see that we're gonna be, carrying, this path that we choose. Washikit Kawuk is gonna be us returning to the same place, but now our intuition is gonna be able to add more stuff to us because you already know like what is the main focus, what you want to do in this Trecena. So it allows us to give more space, to stop that. If we stop that overthinking, to receive this light of intuition that Kawuk, the shit lightning, is talking about. But if we, depending on how we are walking in this Trecena, if you ended up being heard there in Tihash, Kawuk ended up, showing like you are just returning to putting yourself in trouble again. Like the trouble for dedicating to an extra energy that you don't have for the accumulation of the TRECENA, so you can end up putting yourself into trouble again. You have something to add?
Well, in fact, it's very important to see that there's kind of a clean moment that starts again after what has been cut on 70 hash. It also is a very good day to restart contacts again. It's in the same in the same vibe like Kobach Mag. In this case, it's like to inform what you're planning to do, and get in touch with the right people and try to grasp the insightful component that you were talking about. This is the main thing on. Generally, Waxakip Kawuk is a very, down to earth. Let's make it easy. The attitude here is to make things swift and easy. Tak, 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 tak. That's another thing to point out of how you can profit of this Waxakip Kawuk Day.
Yeah. And moving to Belay Hunahpu, to have any?
That can be a tough environment, because generally Nawal Belejev has to do with what you hide, and Nawal Hunahpu might have a link with treason, or at least a link of being on the hunt or someone looking at you. So Belejev Hunahpu is those days that you don't really want to expose much, even if it's a Hunahpu day. I will. This is one of the days that I will be kind of careful during this TRECENA. I try to understand what has been going on. Usually in days number 9, tend to go like, even if it's a day at work, is something like nothing is really happening. But it's the devil in the details day.
Yeah, true. And something that, because Belay Hunahpu can be tricky. Now in some, because remember in the first part of the TRECENA, we are walking and then we had to do the calculations, the things we needed to change. And sometimes we ended up, depends on how the TRECENA is walking, like if the Hunahpu can show us the treason. Can be something like, or like whenever we are too enthusiastic about something, for example, in Ahmak, if you get too emotional in the first part of the TRECENA, Hunahpu can show like whenever you are entering into illusion because you are just seeing like a gold where there is copper, and so Belay Hunahpu can talk about like what you are just seeing from the inside as you are really looking at the mirror in Tihash. Sometimes we can add to this stuff that you may be the one just hurting yourself because you're just gonna be like showing like the fake low, because sometimes you just got in love like too hard with an idea, and now Hunahpu can show like when you're completely wrong about something, like when you're just staying in the dark about that, and show like the truth that you want to ignore that is running underneath your sight is that you are afraid from the battle. That's why sometimes you just start making excuses or entering into something that is not gonna be adding, just like it is the warrior afraid of the battle.
Good point. Yeah, true.
Yeah, and then we're gonna move to Laur Imosh 10 water. Now here we're going to be talking about the convergence of the flow. And what I see in this TRECENA, because as you mentioned, we need to keep things going. Energy comes from the movement, and now cat needs energy, to be able to give to the others, to be able to provide something, to be able to, as Federico said, to tie the knots together, as the past TRECENA was talking about. So this is gonna be like the convergence of the flow that needs to keep a continuing movement. So the fertility and development that we saw in the beginning of the Trecena with Ishwalam and Tikin needs to be over there. It needs to be flowing. Something that you give and you receive, like the force, like you inject force, but you also receive force. Because otherwise, if you don't, feed your bonfire, or your with more gas over there, you won't have energy, to sustain at the end. So in Mosh, going to be talking about like this battery of the Trecena that you need to give for
Yeah.
you, and you also need to give to the others.
Yes, and the 10 plays good with the mosh. I remember all the people that I know, 10 in mosh, are really people that they are really hard workers. They know what to do, how to use their energy. It's not something that they lose the tracks. They know how to make them work. So it's a positive day. Maybe not for starting things, but to continue things. If you need an extra boost on something that you've been doing, 10 emosh is not like the 3 emosh that I was talking before. 10 emosh, it might be a good day, but also always be careful of the slippery part of the emosh days.
Yeah, the left hand, can don't make it mosh turning to the conversion of confusion. Just be aware that. And when you start like talking about the hula hoop yik, 11 wind.
This one is kind of a strange day. The energy of the day, you might feel that it's not very clear of what happened. A very kind of not a good day for discussions and stuff, because it's not something that's going to be very clear what was going on that day. Usually hula hoop days are days that it's not good to stick to the plan, because the plan is going to suffer some strong modifications. But to be aware from where is coming the wind, it might be a good idea here. And sometimes use the hula hoop day and in the cold side. And I mean, just to cool things a little bit, if it's possible. And how do you cool things a little bit, but not paying too much attention? You come from you you divert your energies. You say a little bit here, a little bit that, and that's the way you can use this hula hoop ik in some sort of a positive manner.
Yeah, it's true, because it's funny because hula hoop yik, looks like two, like the mirror nouns, right? Because they both don't have like a single direction, to follow. Because like they tend to go everywhere. It's like chaotic nature. And
The dog starting to bark on hula hoop ik.
yeah, true.
Always remind those. This is something that you'll always see it when we're not mentioning things. And when you call them, you call them.
Exactly. So I think it's about like the dangerous thing about hula yik would be, the like how, as we were talking about this emotional stuff in the first part of the Trecena, because we ended up leading us to make mistakes that can compromise stuff. Well, it could be, like when you have like an uncontrolled enthusiasm that you want to go everywhere, you want to, shoot everywhere. Like, oh yeah, because you found like your first barrier, or the first thing like that you couldn't surpass in the first part of the Trecena. Then hula hoop yek is the one that wants to go everywhere. You start just going completely emotional. It can be something really great that you can expand, stuff, but only works like if you're already working a good streak, you really know what you're doing. Otherwise, hula hoop yek can be like a very explosive day. Can be
Absolutely.
Try not pissing anyone off, during this day, And then we move, yeah. And then we move to Kablo Akabal, 12, clarity. Here I see like where I see 12 Akabal, like the hidden balance of the revelation. It's where you probably can see like, well, where you're going. Like it's where the TRECENA can really show you the ultimate ultimatum for you to finish something. And if you are just talking about going ahead, 12 Akabal could be, the day where you probably found the clarity of the road your past, the creation that you did in the past Trisena can go. Like you can see the possibilities. What could be gestating over there, what you learned from your walk in this Trisena here so far. Like what you learned from having to sacrifice for seeing that you need to have a responsibility with what you create. So Kabla Hakabao is like this sudden clarity that makes you realize like this process of maintaining something could be a relationship, like because you need to dedicate your energy, for both things to work, like or a marriage. It could be, something that you dedicate for your family, like if you have kids, but for business as well. So once we just putting things together, we are already walking this path. Like the what kind of things that can be dangerous. Kabla Hakabal, I can see that as the sudden realization of this, like when you can see like the clarity that the flames of Kat can already show you. This is the sacrifice, the burden that you're going to be having to carry during that. But at the same time, could be something that can be holding you back, because sometimes when we try to be too much perfectionist about something because we want our creation to be perfect. We never move because nothing is perfect. And a cabal is a kind of hard now to negotiate because you want to, you know, make you go crazy trying to make things perfect.
I agree 100%. It's a very the idea in Nakabal, in Western astrology, they use the sign of Virgo in order to you talk about perfectionism. But
Mm,
obviously, here the idea of Nawal Akabal has to do with what's perfectly in order, and it's an understanding that it comes from the realm of the night.
mm,
So it's a very different way of understanding what fits together, because what fits together has to do with a sprout up from some sort of a deep clarity, a deep meaning.
mhm,
And it's true that sometimes we're not ready to understand what we've been doing, because we have Wakib Noh would give you the information, the hard data about what was really going. But here you will realize the hidden factors that were
mhm,
behind the process. Then you know that, oh, that's the partner that I worked with this guy a couple of years ago, or you
mhm,
realize that um, this project was very similar to some other project that failed a couple of years ago. Was that those are the days that you'll get a revelation, and you have to be kind of open and welcome to what you're going to get. It's also a good day for
mhm,
um, to do some inner investigation. Mm?
mhm. Yeah, great point in that.
Help your yeah, head, how to use Kabla days. Kabla days, use them as a in order not to play you with the game. Go for the surprise yourself, go from a different road, change the perspective, do that a little bit more, and you will feel that vibe of the Kabla. I find it a very, very important now, and has a very important role here in this Trecena.
Yeah, I think Kabla can be, the days where it can, like, if you feel like you are behind to something, it's the day where it can give you like 150% of all you have, in order to compensate that. Because I think that the important thing about Kabla, the number 12, it talks about like how nature's, secret, like silently goes back into balance. Because sometimes, you're just having like a good streak, so everything is working for you, and sometimes Kabla effect is the one that just puts you in your right place. And or sometimes if you just have like a bad streak, sometimes a couple of days could be like the one that makes you, just gives you a surprise and just lifts you up at the same time. So it's a surprise box actually.
Absolutely.
Then we move to the final day of the TRECENA in the ruler Oshlahukat. Would you like to start talking about the final
Well,
day?
and the important thing when you're entering on the cat realm is just do your job. Don't ask, don't look, hey, I'm going to this, just do it. Um, is is a very like the idea of the spider building the web. You're not Don't get distracted. These are the type of days that you tend to be overproductive, and you can those days that you don't feel that you should take a break.
Mm-hmm.
So and when you feel like you feel some sort of a satisfaction when the job was done,
Mm-hmm.
that's how to use an Oshlahukat day. Put your energy in it. Don't try to, generally those are the days that if it falls on Sunday, it's,
Mm-hmm.
you start doing unimportant stuff. It falls on Monday, you start to say, no, but
Uh,
it's a good Thursday day. I don't know when it's going to fall, this Oshlahukat. But it's that's how I would see this. Um, there's and if you've been with cat people, they are very, as I say, they go to the business. Want to they work very patiently. They have a critical eye. They are always studying this. Oh, maybe I should study this. I have my father. It's Kobla cat. I have to study. What do you have to study? I mean, it's you need a user's manual for everything. But yes, we're going to study. It's just like we're going to make it seriously. We're going to deal with this in a serious manner.
Mhm.
Use that power, and obviously there's also the possibility, if you see it in a cold way, that some people say, hey, you owe me this.
Mhm.
It has to do with the task and the pending tasks. Is you pay here in order to break free, as
Mhm.
Freddie Mercury said. This is the spirit of this Trecena. There's a part of you who would want to
Mhm.
get break free. This is something that is good to keep in mind,
Mhm.
because this is where, like, we're starting we're climbing the mountain.
Yeah.
And there will be sometimes I say, really, I have to. There's a dominion that comes from this giving to others, that then can help you to do the clearest cut, because there
Mhm.
was going to be clear that there was nothing left to do. Because there's nothing left to do, you have the clearest cut, and then of course you can restart then the next descent and so on.
Yeah, true. And also, Jose, if I see that you're there in the chat, so no one not better than you because you're now our cat too. If you want to just give a suggestion here for a cat day. Because cats, like especially now we are talking about like the accumulation of this Trecena can be, like the burdens, like the tasks that we're accumulating the road for being on the service, for people. And that talks about like how we get, compromised, we commit into things in life. Like sometimes we like to just to live lightly and not to commit to anything, but there is always a small commitment that accumulates and can end up burning ourselves. We ended up just getting caught, like just giving ourselves, into a circumstance, like a situation or a person in need, or a project like that. It's going to be like our spiritual, child. It can always, add to the task, of the things that we need to carry. And I see also one thing with cat, because that is now the council can cover, like all the pillars that we have to sustain our lives, like work, relationships, and like the stuff with ourselves as well, and then how we transform this energy. Because now cut, just like now is an hour of a transformation. But Kat's going to be talking about when we are purifying something through the fire, or the transformation of the energy of the mother has to do just to create like a baby. It's, I think that's one of the most beautiful things about the Maya calendar, that talks about like the mother, starts to rise in the consciousness of the baby just staying over there. It's her energy, that provides this creation. The same way of the metaphor of the tree, stones of creation with the Nello inside that represents the now cat. Now cat, exactly. And but I see, like, if we don't take care, like, we can accumulate stuff and then we can end up getting exhausted. Kat, talks also about the exhaustion, like we can get, like, when we don't make this flow of energy, flow in the way that it needs. Otherwise, we can end up, just getting hurt at the end. Like, if you don't control, like, you get exhausted, you're gonna be getting burned out. Then you cannot work, you cannot do anything. Maybe you'll be finding yourself lazy, then you don't know why, but you have been, just overlooking or ignoring, like, this energy that you are spending, without seeing. So now cut is I think it's an hour just to put the things in the tasks, where, as you mentioned, you're going to be tying things together, because it's going to prove you if you are able to sustain it or not. And I think it cannot be more practical than this. And I think in here, then we start preparing, to start a new TRECENA in 13 days. After we tie these things together, we're going to be going to the Naor TRECENA, because in this one we put things into tests, to sacrifice, to give life to the creation, to give that spark of life. Then the next TRECENA, we're going to be accumulating a big plan to do that. Have any additional thoughts?
Keep up with the good work.
Yeah. Let me just read you what people send here in the live. I think you confused here, Gloria. Nine is not from this TRECENA. Maybe you said nine sun. And yeah, that's, if she's from this TRECENA. Yeah, she said here she is 9 but I think she mentioned, or maybe 2 or 9 Hunahpu. I don't know.
Okay.
And the last son. So your mom is the private Hunahpu. It's the one that sacrificed in silence for the other people as well. And let's see. Oh, she said that's number 1. Okay.
Very good planner, actually.
Yeah. And here there is Marcos Rodriguez said about past there is the sun. I don't know. I think he's confusing the calendar.
Nine sun is very, very important in order to understand this kind of matters of to understand how the sun goes under the earth. So surely it's a very deep person with a lot of inner life, not very open, even if she wants to, even if she wanted to present herself. She said there's a sort of a mystique aura, and how to deal with that is not to we live in an anti-9 world, so don't it doesn't matter. Don't follow the social media. Live your own lives privately and build your treasures in you.
That's true. Yeah, especially like 9 people, 2 people, sometimes 4 people, like they can usually seem like there's people who doesn't want to do some stuff, but it's not actually the truth. But unfortunately, it's the world that we view that try to classify what is normal and that everybody needs to follow what is this normal stuff. And the beautiful thing about the calendar that we can understand, people's nature without judgmental, without applying the thing of the good or the bad that society implied to us. That often confuses with morality. And let's see what else here. I think there was a guy. I think he was confusing the calendars. Yeah, I love your perception of each day, Lord, and vibration. That was beautiful. Oh, thank you, Maya Crystal. And yeah, Gloria said, yeah, she was very private. Do you have any questions you'd like to ask for Federico here? Or our special guest? There is anything you'd like to ask him? He's not on social media yet.
I'm a 9 person also.
Yeah, he's a 9 person. But as soon as this 9 decides just to show a little bit to the world, I'm gonna be giving you, his Instagram. But it was really, really fun. Really, guys. Okay, if there is no questions, so for those who were able to see this analysis live, this recording is going to be staying on YouTube. You can share it to your friends. If you are new here in the live and you are enjoying like what we are sharing here, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like button. And anything, just write us. And maybe if you are enjoying like the participation here with Federico, let me know, and I will invite him back here for us to be analyzing more and more TRECENAs.
Anytime.
So that's it, guys. I hope you have enjoyed. Federico, thank you so much for taking this time for attending my live. And
has been a pleasure. Absolutely.
Yeah,
wonderful,
great.
Delightful. This is something that we always have to do, and share our passions in the right way.
Exactly, because I think us combining our insights can provide even greater insights for other people. But I appreciate your time. Wishing you already that great TRECENA ahead. Don't put yourself in too many tasks. Okay, my friends, see you soon, and see you guys in our next video. Bye-bye.